Well, Dr Smith, thank you very much indeed for sparing time to be with us on the programme today. The ETS is behind the increase in power prices. Rodney Hyde reckons that the extra costs imposed on New Zealanders when it comes into force on July the 1st will cancel out any benefits we got from the tax cuts in the budget. Farmers say it's a bad idea. Businesses say it's a bad idea. It's as unpopular as I've known any legislation. So why are we doing it?
Well, New Zealand needs to play its part in this global issue around climate change. Our government has more than halved the costs for households. Let's deal with a few of the big picture issues. I think most New Zealanders understand that we should be planting more trees. The reality over the last 5 years of the previous government is we lost over 30,000 hectares of trees. The ETS has changed that trend. There are very positive forward projections on the amount of trees being planted. Secondly, I think New Zealanders understand that they'd much prefer their electricity was produced renewably rather than from burning gas and coal. We've seen a big increase over the last decade in the amount of new plant that is thermal generation. The ETS is already causing a big investment in renewable. The third is that the government wants to drive investments in improved energy efficiency. And that is a key objective of it, and again we're seeing good progress. You know, the government's got schemes to fund insulation in homes, to provide subsidies for solar water heating, those sorts of technological investments that we need to make as a country. Now, the claim from Rodney Hyde that somehow all of New Zealand's tax cuts are going to be taken away by the emissions trading scheme is simply incorrect. If we take the average household, even if you include the increase in GST, the average household will be $25 a week better off as a consequence of the government's budget. The cost of the ETS for the average household is $3 a week, and so that's incorrect. Look, the other claim that's made is that somehow New Zealand's a world leader. Look, there are 38 countries with commitments under the Kyoto Protocol. 29 of them have an emissions trading scheme. Most of them are a lot more aggressive than the New Zealand scheme. For instance, in Europe, it's put the price of power up by 20-25%. The New Zealand scheme is a lot softer, only putting the price of power up by about 5%.
But in Europe, Minister, they've actually got a very selective emission trading scheme. They've cut out the output of their agriculture industry, households, small business, transport, construction, waste. Could we not have got a good deal like that?
Let's take, for instance, your claim that it doesn't include households. Or who do you think's paying the 23% increase in the electricity price that's in the European ETS? Of course it is households. Are small businesses paying that? Are industry paying it? Yes, they are. If you take overall, the European emissions trading scheme covers 43% of their emissions. Our scheme covers 23%. So claims that somehow the New Zealand scheme is more aggressive than Europe is simply not correct. And a further point, and what is done quite misleadingly, is to say, well, when all the sectors come into the New Zealand emissions trading scheme further down the track, and all of the allocations and assistance is removed, all New Zealand scheme is world leading. Yeah, but that's not what's happening on the 1st of July. On the 1st of July, the New Zealand scheme is very moderate.
One of the areas that does seem to have people concerned is agriculture, which of course it's our primary industry. It's one of the largest contributors to greenhouse gases in the country. The farmers say that this is going to cripple their industry. What's your answer to them?
Well, the first thing is that agriculture depends on market access and the impressions that New Zealand that our markets have of New Zealand. We very heavily market ourselves as 100% pure, and as The Economist so accurately said in its editorial in March, New Zealand cannot go marketing its products as being a clean, green, 100% pure country when we've had one of the biggest increase of developed countries in our emissions, 24% up on 1990 levels. So farmers have a huge interest in that brand and that access of our market products. But let's look at what the costs are for agriculture. The government has quite deliberately amended the ETS and put agriculture off till 2015, so there's no cost for the agricultural or the methane emissions. Secondly, what we've done is we've said, look, we're going to review the scheme in 2011. again in 2014, if there isn't progress in countries like Australia and the United States, will not be adding those agricultural emissions into the scheme. And the only area where it's been smart for New Zealand to take leadership in agricultural emissions is in that technology area, and we're very proud as a government that we've started that Agricultural Research Alliance, brought together countries from all over the world, pulled tens of millions of dollars out of other countries to invest in that research alliance, who will be meeting in New Zealand later this year. And so that is the place where it is sensible for New Zealand to lead, and that's why we've put so much work at Copenhagen and more recently into getting countries right across the spectrum, the United States, the Chinas, the Europeans, the Indians, into being part of finding that solution. Really important for the world, because we've got an extra 3 billion people living on this planet by 2050. We need to invest in the research so that we can produce the food to feed those people without adding to the problem of greenhouse gas emissions.